In the heart of Michigan, where quiet neighborhoods stretch for miles and people leave their doors unlocked, something unthinkable shattered the peace. A man no one suspected. A plan no one saw coming. A bomb that left a hole deeper than concrete could ever show. This is the story of Marcus Feldman, the suicide bomber of Hollow Creek. When thinking of a terrorist attack, we picture shadowy figures in far-off lands planning acts of violence. But sometimes the most terrifying threats come from within. Meet Marcus Feldman, a name forever etched in infamy as the architect of one of the most devastating attacks in Michigan history. He was once a familiar face in the small town of Hollow Creek, a place where residents knew him as the quiet guy with kind eyes. His life was seemingly ordinary, working at a local car repair shop, fixing engines, and living in a modest trailer. But beneath that mundane existence lay a story of profound sadness and simmering rage. Marcus's tale began not with terrorism, but with tragedy. He was just 16 when his parents perished in a house fire, leaving him to navigate the world alone. He bounced between foster homes, searching for stability, but found only fleeting moments of solace. At 18, he enlisted in the military, hoping to find purpose and brotherhood. He served in Afghanistan, where he was exposed to the horrors of war, witnessing things that no young man should ever see. When he returned home, he carried the scars of war deep within him, unable to shake off the memories that haunted his every waking moment. Back in Hollow Creek, Marcus struggled to reintegrate into civilian life. Neighbors noticed him pacing his backyard for hours, staring vacantly into the distance as if seeing ghosts. It was during this time of turmoil that Hollow Creek lost another piece of its soul. A prominent veteran and beloved member of the community took his own life, leaving behind a legacy of service and a family in mourning. Marcus felt a profound sense of loss for the veteran and his family, but it also triggered a deep-seated resentment towards what he perceived as a society that had forgotten its heroes. He began attending online forums where men just like him poured their hearts out, sharing stories of loss, trauma, and disillusionment. Marcus found solace in these digital spaces, feeling seen and understood for the first time in years. He participated actively in discussions, sharing his own experiences and listening intently to others. It was here in the darkest corners of the internet that Marcus fell prey to a sinister ideology. Obscure and fringe groups reached out to him, offering a twisted sense of belonging and purpose. Marcus, desperate for connection, found himself drawn to their hateful rhetoric and eventually joined a chat room. Marcus started spending all his waking hours in this chat room. He devoured extremist materials, allowing radical ideas to seep into his already fractured psyche. The once gentle and quiet man began to transform, becoming more isolated and withdrawn than ever before. Now he spent his days locked in his trailer, reading books and articles that glorified violence and hatred. His mind, once a well of kindness, now became a breeding ground for darkness. But amidst this descent into chaos, there were glimmers of hope. Friends and colleagues noticed the change in Marcus and tried to reach out. They invited him to social gatherings, hoping to pull him back from the brink. However, Marcus declined their invitations, retreating further into his shell. They watched in sadness as he transformed before their eyes, becoming a shadow of his former self. As time went on, Marcus's transformation became more apparent and more disturbing. He grew a thick beard, covering the once friendly face that had been a fixture in Hollow Creek. His eyes, once filled with warmth, now held a distant and unsettling gleam. The man who had once found solace in the quiet routines of his life was now consumed by anger and a thirst for vengeance. Determined to carry out his twisted mission, Marcus began stockpiling materials in the shed behind his trailer. Propane tanks, nails, wiring, and fertilizer became his tools of destruction. He worked tirelessly, driven by a desire to make his voice heard even if it meant causing unimaginable devastation. Meanwhile, the FBI had become aware of Marcus's online activity. They monitored his chats, watching in horror as he incited violence and hatred. But because he was not yet on American soil, they did not deem it necessary to intervene. Little did they know that Marcus had already planted the seeds of terror in his hometown. One day, Marcus decided to put his plan into action. On October 13, 2023, he set out to the local county courthouse. The target was the same place where the veteran had sought help before taking his own life, a place that symbolized the indifference he felt from the system. As he entered the courthouse wearing a bulky black hoodie and a camo backpack, little did everyone inside know that they were about to experience the nightmare that Marcus had meticulously planned. At 9:17 a.m., surveillance cameras captured Marcus entering the courthouse. He walked past the security checkpoint without setting off any alarms. No one paid any attention to the man who would soon become infamous for the tragedy he was about to unleash. He calmly walked up to the third floor, carrying his backpack, which contained the device that would change everything. As the clock struck 9:23 a.m., Marcus detonated the bomb. Chaos erupted immediately. Shrapnel tore through 3 floors, shattering windows and sending debris flying. People screamed and desperately ran for cover. Fire engulfed the hallway as thick black smoke billowed out, choking those in its path. Amidst the dust and chaos, 7 people lay lifeless on the floor, their dreams and aspiration extinguished in an instant. Outside, emergency vehicles raced toward the scene, their sirens piercing the air. As firefighters battled the blaze, emergency services personnel rushed to the wounded, trying to save as many lives as possible. Meanwhile, the rest of the country was blissfully unaware of the horror that had just unfolded in Hollow Creek. News of the bombing spread like wildfire. People gathered around their radios and televisions, trying to make sense of the tragedy. Headlines blared, "Michigan courthouse bombed. The nation mourned the loss of innocent lives," wondering why such an atrocity had occurred. As the shock wore off, questions arose. How could this have happened? Who was responsible, and why? The FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force initiated a full-scale investigation. Agents scoured through evidence, hoping to find clues that could lead them to the person behind the attack. Every piece of debris, every witness statement, and every piece of digital footprint was examined meticulously. Meanwhile, Hollow Creek was left to pick up the pieces. The town, once known for its tranquility, was now synonymous with tragedy. Residents struggled to cope with the loss of their loved ones, wondering why fate had chosen their town for such a horrific event. Grief counselors were brought in to help children cope with the trauma of witnessing the aftermath. The sense of safety that had once defined Hollow Creek had vanished, replaced by fear and uncertainty. And as the investigation deepened, the focus fell on Marcus Feldman. His manifesto provided insights into the troubled mind of the bomber, revealing the pain and anger that had driven him to such extreme measures. Through his writings, the world saw the deep-seated trauma he carried, the struggles he faced, and the feelings of abandonment he harbored. In the days following the bombing, the Department of Veterans Affairs was scrutinized for its role in Marcus's life. Records revealed that he had sought help for mental health issues, but his pleas for support were overlooked. Whistleblowers came forward, shedding light on a system that failed to prioritize the needs of those who had put their lives on the line to defend the country. The nation grappled with the realization that its heroes were not being treated with the honor they deserved. The tragedy in Hollow Creek was not merely an act of terrorism. It was a symptom of a broken system and a society that had turned its back on those who had served it. The news of Marcus's death sent shockwaves throughout the country. People struggled to comprehend how someone living in their midst could be capable of such brutality. His seemingly ordinary life in Hollow Creek was a stark contrast to the darkness that had consumed him. As the nation mourned the loss of innocent lives, questions lingered about how this tragedy could have been prevented. Had the warning signs been recognized and addressed, could the lives of the victims have been saved? Or was this an event that was destined to unfold? The bombing in Hollow Creek remains a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface. It is a testament to the importance of addressing mental health issues, supporting veterans, and fostering a sense of community. The vibrant faces that once populated the courthouse hallways are now etched in memory, their absence a constant ache in the hearts of those who loved them. In the wake of this tragedy, Hollow Creek stood as a symbol of resilience. The community rallied together, offering support to one another and honoring the memory of the victims. As they rebuilt their lives, they carried the scars of the bombing, serving as a reminder of the strength and unity they found in the face of adversity.